Welcome, Mindsetters, to this grade 12 session doing maths literacy. We're still on the subject of data and...
Well, we're going to be looking at mean, median, mode. We're going to be looking at percentiles and quartiles.
All right, awesome.
Quite confusing.
Yes. For those who I always just tell out there, you know what, just sit down with the books and your notes and your pens and pads and just go through it and work at it like we're doing today, right?
Absolutely. And if you don't understand it, just keep trying. In fact, talking about not understanding, I have a joke for you. Okay,
hit me.
If you're very, very intelligent, you will laugh. Okay? If you're just intelligent, you won't understand it, but you'll laugh anyway to pretend you're very, very intelligent. And if you're not intelligent at all, in other words, if you're totally doof, you'll just have a blank expression. All right. Here's the joke. But it's not a joke. It really happened. Got on an aeroplane. Okay? On the runway, true story, on the runway, about to take off, pilot stops. Okay? Takes us back to the terminal. Sit in the plane for 2.5 hours, I kid you not. Eventually, we start heading off. Okay? So I said to the air hostess, what was going on? Why did it take so long? What's the problem? She said, well, the pilot heard a very, very strange noise in the engine. And it took us so long to find a new pilot. I'm going to go there while you talk to them.
Yes, on that note. Yes, so guys, make sure you get on the page www.facebook.com/learnextra and make sure you get chatting. Guys, if you have any jokes, even just related to the maths, to the subject, guys, post them up, get chatting, let's have some fun. You know, it's a matric year, it's tough, but for now, guys, I'm going to hand you over to Mr. Peter. Take it away.
Ryan, talking about being online and chatting to us, currently we have 9,554 viewers talking to us. That's phenomenal. That's just absolutely fantastic. Our goal is 10,000 people. Right. So I tell you what, you get hold of your other buddies in Matric, tell them to get online and start talking to us. Let's try and get this 9,554 people way up to 10,000. It's not a lot, eh? It's only another 446 people to find. So you go and find them right now while we're talking and say, hey, quick, turn to channel 319 and chat to the guys. Okay? And let's get it up to 10,000. And I've been told if we hit 10,000, next week we have a party. Can't wait for that. Our producer's bringing in the food. It's going to be so exciting. Okay, right, let's move on. Now, consider the following. Now, grade 12. Just before your session started at 6 o'clock, we had a grade 11 session. And in that grade 11 session, we were talking about mean, median, mode. Okay? And I hope you were tuned into that because it's really going to make life a lot interesting looking at this next section. But if you didn't, please don't panic because I'm going to go through what is a mean, what is a mode, what is the median, what is a range. And for you in Matric, we're going to look at things called interquartile ranges. Ooh. And quartiles. Oh my goodness, what is that? And we're also going to look at things called percentiles. If we don't get to percentiles today, we'll definitely get on to it next week. And percentiles is one part of the syllabus that Matrics really, really, really have a hard time with. Okay? Whether you're in the state system or the IB private school system, Matrics battle with this thing called percentiles. So stay tuned with us because we might be looking at it towards the end of the session or, if not, next week. But we will cover it. We have to cover it because it's so important. Okay, so what we thought we'd do is, because you're in Matric, we want to start off with a challenge question. And here's our challenge question, and it will be posted up on the, the website, the net,
Facebook.
the Facebook. It will be posted up on Facebook, so you can have a look at it, try and work through it, and later on in the program, I'm going to try and answer it myself. Okay, if we get the time to do it. If not, we'll post the answer up on Facebook. But hopefully, we'll work our time out nicely. Okay, consider the following. Here's the challenge question. The population of South Africa by province in 1996. True figures, eh? Eastern Cape, 6,302,525 people. Free State, 2,633,504. Gauteng, 7,348,423. KwaZulu-Natal, 8,417,021. Limpopo, we have no idea. Okay? Limpopo is a missing value here. Mpumalanga, there's the figure. Northern Cape, there's the figure. Northwest, there's the figure. Western Cape, there's the figure. Here's the question. If the average population for all 9 provinces is 4,509,286, then determine the population in Limpopo. Wee, this is a fun question, folks. Because here now, we're not asking you to find the mean. We are giving you bits of information with something missing. Then we're giving you the mean, and now we're asking you, what's that missing bit of information? Lovely question. One very, very similar to this came up in the 2011 IB paper. One very, very similar to this came up in the 2010 IB paper, the 2010 government paper. All right. Important questions these. Okay. So it's a challenge for you. Think about it. Try and work on it, but at the same time, try and keep an eye and an ear on what you're seeing on the screen. Okay, I don't want you to focus totally on the challenge question and miss the lesson today, because, well, that just defeats the whole object. Right, let's look at our first question. A certain grade 12 mathematical literacy class wrote a test on probability. These were the results. 15%, 80%, 75%, 77%, 70%, 68, 73, 62, 60, 60, 75, 61, 58, 83, and 75. Okay. So we have a class, grade 12 maths lit class, they write a test. And the results are given, and those are all the results. First question, how many students are in the class? Guys, 1 mark, straightforward. This would be like a level 1 question in a paper 1. You're not going to get this kind of question in a paper 2 because it's so basic. But we like to give you basic questions in a paper 1 just to build up your confidence. Question number 1, how many in the class? Hey, I can do this. Cool, I've done it. Now, bring on the next question. Okay? It's always lousy when you look at the first question, you don't even know what it is. Even if it is, what is your name? All right, now, how many students are in the class? Well, let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 15 students in my class. Easy question, and because it was 1 mark, I knew it was going to be easy. Calculate the range. What is the range? Well, the range, if I said I wanted the range of marks, what I'm saying is, well, what is the difference between my highest mark and my lowest mark? Okay? And that difference is known as my range. In other words, if I were to write it in the form of a formula, I would say the range is equal to my highest mark minus my lowest mark. Now, what was my highest mark? Okay, looking at it there, I've got an 80. That's so exciting. But I think my highest is actually 83. So I've got 83 marks. What's my lowest? Well, clearly, this is it. Okay, 15. So I've got 83 minus 15. So on our calculator then, 83 minus 15 equals, and I get an answer of 68. So my answer then, 68. So that's the range. In other words, the difference between my highest mark and my lowest mark is 68 marks. That's the difference between those 2 marks. Or that is my range of marks. Next question. What is the mode? What do I mean by the mode? Well, the mode is like saying the most. Listen to it. Mode, most. Cool? So what number occurs the most? In other words, which mark comes up the most? Here it is. So we've got 115, we've got 183. We've got 180, we've got a 75, a 75, a 75. Look here. I've got 3 75s. I've got a 77, a 60, 68. I think that's it, 75. So my mode is 75, the figure that occurs the most. Now, determine the mean average. Round your answer to 1 decimal place where necessary, or if necessary. Time, I'm drinking water.
Yes.
I'm finished drinking water. Okay. Now, the mean average. The mean average is like the what you would refer to, or not what you, but what others would refer to as the average. Okay? Just the plain, what is the average? Well, there are three types of averages, as you know, and as I told the grade 11s. There's the mean average, the median average, and the module average. I just want to know, what is the mean average? Okay, so my mean average, what we're going to do is we're going to add up all those figures and then divide by the number of figures. So my mean is my total divided by the number of students. And we already know that I've got 15 students, okay, because that was our very first question. Now what we've got to do is actually add up all those marks. So let's do that. And I'm going to take out my calculator and I'm going to do it right here. So away we go. We got 15 plus I have 80 plus I've got 75 and 77 and 70 again, plus 68, 73, 62, and I'm sorry I have to do all this, but I have to because I'm going to need this answer for another question. Plus, let's just move our calculator out the way here, 60 and 75, 61, 58, 83, and 75. Okay, and my total is 992. Okay, so let's write that down. So I've got 992 was my my total. Now that I've got that total, we just divide it by 15, and we see that my answer is going to be 66,13. 13, and then it went on to give us 3333333. Okay, so comma 333. Now let's look at the question. The question says, determine the mean average, round your answer to one decimal place if necessary. Now I always find that amusing, because if an examiner says if necessary, it basically means, hey, listen, it's going to be a funny answer, you've got to round it. Okay, so take that as a little hint. So rounding to one decimal place, my mean is 66,1. Happy with that? Of course you are. Let's move on. Now, arrange the data in order to go on to show how you would find the median. Now remember, the median is the middlemost number. So I've got to take my data, arrange it from the lowest to the highest. And with grade 11s, we said you could also do it from the highest to the lowest, but you actually don't want to do that, okay? As a kid, you've learned to count from the smallest number to the biggest number, so let's just do that again. So which is my smallest number? My smallest number in this case is 15. So I've got 15 over here. Any numbers in the 20s? Nothing at all. In the 30s, nothing. In the 40s, I've got nothing. 50s, I've got nothing. And I do. I've got a 58. Okay, 60s, I've got a 60, a 60, so I've got two 60s. Okay, I've got a 61. I've got a 62. I've got any other 60s? I've got a 68. Okay, right, to my 70s, I've got 70. And then if I remember correctly, and a 73. And then my 75s, there were three of them, hey? Remember, that was my mode. So 75, 75, 75. And then I've got a 77. I'm going here because I've run out of space. I've got an 80. And finally, an 83. Okay. Remember, to check myself, let's count how many marks I've actually got. Because I should have 15. Why? Because there were 15 people in my class. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Fantastic. I haven't made a mistake. To find the middle one, the median, we've got to work from either side, knock off some numbers, and work our way through to the middle. So let's do that. That one goes away, that one goes away. Here and there, and 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 here and there. My median is 70. Okay, now, next one. Using the arrangement from question 1.5 above, determine the interquartile range. Whoa! We've got to talk about what are these quartiles. We've never come across anything like this before. Well, do you know that if I were to arrange my numbers in order, from my lowest to my highest, I've got a number here which is my highest. I've got a number there which is my my number here, which is my lowest, and my number there, which is my highest. In the middle, I've got the median. Okay, so 50% of my marks are this side of the median, and 50% are that side of the median. Right, median, middle. Now, what do I mean by quartiles? Well, quartiles, listen to the words quartiles. Quartiles, my first quartile, okay, is the first quarter. How do I find the quarter mark? Well, if I look at the halfway mark and the beginning mark, the quarter must be in the middle of the half and the beginning, okay? So here was my beginning, and here was my middle. So my quartile, or first quartile, must be in the middle of my beginning and middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work exactly the same way and find the middle of the beginning and the middle. Does that make sense? I'm sure it does. So let's do that. So I'm going to write those figures out again, and I'm going to say, right, so I've got 15, I got 58, I had 60, 60, 61, 62, 68, and 70. Here is my beginning, and here is my middle. We're going to find the middle of that in the same way. Cross one there and here. Here and there. Here and there, and there it is. That is my first quarter, or what we would call quartile 1. So quartile 1 is 60. Easy? Okay, so let's go through that again. I've got a beginning, I've got an end, I've got a middle. I've got a first quarter. The first quarter is the middle of the middle and the beginning. What do you think the third quartile is? Okay, the third quartile is going to be the middle of the middle and the end. Makes sense. So let's have a look at that. So quartile 2 now, let's write those figures. I've got 70, I've got 73, 75, 75, 75, I got 77, I got 80, and I got 83. Here's the end, and this guy here was the middle one, so I'm not going to count it. Cross one here and there, here and there, here and there it is. So quartile 3 is 75. So how do I calculate the quartile range? Well, my quartile range is my quartile 3 minus my quartile 1. In other words, what is the range of marks between my first quarter and my third quarter? Well, third quarter we knew was 75. My first quartile was 60, so my quartile range has got to be 15. Sure. That was a lot of new information. Hey? You didn't do that in grade 11. So for grade 12, this is like, oh my goodness, we've learned something new. And on that note, I think we need to take a break. I know I need a glass of water, and I'm sure you guys do too after all that.
I think so. Huh? So guys, you know the drill. Make sure you have your pens and your pads. I know I keep saying this over and over, and I'm sounding like a broken record. But guys, I'm just telling you things that are just good practice. Make sure you're always writing down notes. It's always good because you can't keep everything in your head. But for now, guys, I'm going to see you after this break. Welcome back, Mindsetters, to this grade 12 session. You know what? I just had a surprise for myself just now. Like, I had the most awesome thing. But I won't go into that right now because right now I'm handing over to Peter. Because Peter, you're going to continue with the lesson.
I am, and I really enjoyed the break. I was able to get a bit of water. There's nothing like choking on live TV. It's actually quite embarrassing. Anyway, so I apologize for that, but it seems like I got my voice back, so let's keep going. All right. Now, just before the break, we learned something horrendously new. In fact, it wasn't that horrendous after we did it. But one of our questions was determine the quartile range. And so we've answered it, but I'm going to go on with this question, then I'm going to do another example of quartiles, because I think it's important that we understand that concept, okay? But let's go back to this question, and our next question was, which of the averages, the mean, the mode, or the median, best describes the set of test results? Explain your reasoning by mentioning why you've decided on a particular average, and why you don't think the other two averages are suitable to use when trying to give a full overview of the test results. So remember, a grade 12 class wrote a test on mathematical literacy. Okay? They then get all these results. From these results, we were able to calculate the mean, the median, and the mode. Okay? And just to refresh us, I wrote the answers here. Our mean was 68, our median 70, and our mode was 75%. Now, we want to know what average, which one of these best describes the class marks? Is it the 68, is it the 70, or is it the 75? Well, let's have a look then at those marks again, all right? And the best way to look at them is by looking at them in order. And I know this is difficult to see because I've now written and crossed out and all the rest. But we said that the median was 70. So the median is 70, and you know 70 is pretty close to 68, 62, 61, 60, and 58. Well, we're starting to lose focus here at this 58. 15 really is way, way from 70. We got 73, 75s, we got 77, 80, 83. You know what? 70 is pretty close to most of the data except that 15. Now, if you were to look at those results again, and let's put them up here, you can see them a lot clearer here, and I'll just get rid of all these green lines so you can see the figures, okay? All these marks are relatively close to each other. From 68, or from 61, 68, 60 to 50s to 70s to 80s, it's just this horrible 15, okay? It doesn't fit in there at all. In fact, if I was the class teacher, I'd pull this little boykie aside that got 15 and say, we need to talk. I don't know if you're in the right class here, pal. Let's have a discussion. Okay? So let's say I had a class or two classes. One class was very weak students, and the other class was students who were okay to very good. And if this class was the okay to very good, I would have to take that one student who got 15 and say, you know what, pal, I think we've got to arrange for a transfer. I think this class is going a little bit quick for you. I think there are certain concepts that we're gliding over because we expect everyone to know, but you don't quite grasp them. So I'd rather take you, put you in another class where we're going a lot slower through the concepts, we're doing a lot more revision of the grade 11 work and the grade 10 work, and maybe that class would be better for you. Somehow you don't fit in here. Well, I wouldn't tell the kid that. There's nothing worse than telling a kid he doesn't fit in there. Oh, I got deja vu again. All right, okay. So, oh, my teachers were horrible. Eh? They always told... You know, I went to a music lesson once. I must tell you this, eh? And I hope my teacher's listening. She's probably dead now. But I was in like grade 3 or grade 4. Mm-hmm. And we did a concert. It was phenomenal, all right? And all the grade... in fact, I'm thinking standard. The grade 6s. So it was grade 5, grade 6, and grade 7. And all the grade 5s had to play musical instruments. Okay? You know these funny xylophone, ting-ting, doof-doof things, all right? So they played all those things. All the grade 6s had to sing. And all the grade 7s did a dance. And I was in grade 6 at the time, so I was one of the singers. And there I was, really going for it, okay? And my producer's saying I must sing, but I'm not allowed to, otherwise our ratings are going to drop. But there I was, singing along, and suddenly, out of nowhere, the music teacher said, stop the music, stop the dancing, we have a problem. Now, there must have been, I would say, close on 100 grade 5s, 100 grade 6s, so it must have been a good 300 students. And she said, I don't want to hear music. I don't want to hear dancing or see dancing. I just want the grade sixes to sing. And so she walked around while we were singing and listened to each one of us. And then she got to me. And she listened and said, we found the problem. Now, I kid you not, folks, this is what she did. And you know what? That stuck with me forever and forever and forever. And to this day, I won't sing. I tried it once again when I was in church. I sang forth, and a little kid turned around to me and said, you know, Uncle Peter, you mustn't mock like that. God doesn't like it. So I really have this complex. I'm always very careful what I say to students. So I'm not going to say to the student, you don't belong in this class. I'm going to make it nice. Hey, you got 15%. You know what? Kind of style. Let's make life easier for you. Okay? Put it across nicely. All right. So.
Wait, Pete. But on that note, we also need to make sure that the other kids at home remember that there's still a challenge question, so they can also try and make sure that they work on it and fit in.
Okay, I don't know how that fits into my story, but yes, folks, there is a challenge question. Okay, please don't forget about that challenge question. When we took a break, and we're going to be taking a break again in about 11 minutes and 47 seconds, 46 seconds, 45 seconds. We'll be taking a break, and then that's when you work on your challenge question. Okay, right. So, and I'm totally lost at what I was saying. All right, so what we said was this little kid, 15, he's an outlier. Okay, there's a mark that just doesn't fit in. We've got to take that mark and say, you know what, that's going to skew, S-K-E-W. That is going to skew our results. So we've got to be aware that that 15 is an ugly little number there. Right. So 70, our median, kind of fits into all this data. If we went on and we looked at the median is 70%. In other words, the mean average, what did I say now? The median, hey? We just spoke about that. The mean average is 68%. But the mean average has been skewed again by this horrible outlier. And here's a little rule. It doesn't always apply, but 99% it applies. I always say to my guys, if there's an outlier in your set of data, the mean is totally skewed. Okay? You can't really take that mean as 100% reflection on your class's marks, okay, or the class's mean, because of that horrible mark that's out there. It could have been the other way around, hey? I could have had a class that really battles with mathematics, and they got 10%, 5%, 12%, 15%, 13%, 14%, and then suddenly there's a kid that gets 100%. Now, that kid that got 100% is skewing all the data. So suddenly now my class average looks pretty good, but it's actually not pretty good, or my class mean looks pretty good, but it's not pretty good. It just looks like that because of that one outlier. And same here. My mean is 68%, which is not that great, but it's because it's been affected by the 15. Okay? Finally, then, my mode is 75. Now, mode is 75. Remember when we had all the data in order? The 75s are right up here, okay? Right in the higher part of the information. So my 75s are not a true reflection on what the whole class has done. Imagine if I went to my headmaster and says, hey, listen, I need a raise. My class's average was 75%. He says, wow, that's fantastic. Here's your raise. You can have as much money as you like. I hope he's tuned in. But you can have as much money as you like. There it is. In fact, you know what? Here's an extra 10,000 Rand for you because you've received such a great mean for your class, or such a great average. But it's not a real average, because suddenly he's going to come to me and say, hold on, what about this 58? This 62? What about this 15? This 75 is actually only top part of the class. It's got nothing. Doesn't take into account everything. So for me personally, I would say the best thing that describes my marks can't be 75. It's way too high. I wouldn't say it's the mean because there's this horrible outlier. Okay? So I would say the median average is the best average to use if you're telling someone how well your class did. Got that? Okay. Now that is a real typical level 4 question. You'll only find that in a paper 2, and it's a real challenge type question. Okay. That's going to decide who gets in the 90s and who gets in the 80% at the end of the year. Okay, let's move on. Now, we're going to be looking at something called percentiles, which I think is just so, so important. And students don't do well in this section at all. So what do I mean by percentiles? Well, let's have a look here. The body mass index, or the BMI, is a number calculated from a person's mass and height. BMI number is plotted on the CDC BMI for age growth charts for either male or female. To obtain a percentile ranking, BMI for age weight status categorizes, and the corresponding percentiles are shown in the following table. Okay, now, underweight. Right, what is BMI first of all? Well, BMI is when they look at your height and they look at your age and they may, or your height, sorry, and your mass, and they make a comparison between that. And then they say your body mass index or your BMI is this figure or that figure. And then based on that figure, they can say, you know what, you're underweight, or you know what, you're average, or my goodness, you're a beast, okay? So, that's how it works. The truth is that BMI is not really a true reflection on whether you're obese or not. So let's pretend, in fact, you don't have to pretend. Here I am, a body of muscle, okay? And the producers must stop saying things in my ears when I say this. But here I am, a body of muscle standing before you. Now, muscle weighs quite a bit, okay? So I now get on the scale, and I realize that my mass is a whopping, and I'm going to make this up because it's nowhere near the truth, but it's 120 kilograms. So let's pretend now I'm 120 kilograms, and I'm just going to do this here, okay? But it's all mass. I'm sorry, it's all muscle, okay? Now, I now take my height, and my height is, what's it, 1.81 or 1.83 or whatever the case is. Right. I'm going to get a certain BMI. And we'll show you how we calculate that later because it comes up later on in the question. But I'm going to get a certain BMI. And my BMI is going to say, you know what, Peter Templeton, you are disgustingly overweight. Okay. But I've got a thin, trim, muscular body. I might look at someone else who's exactly the same weight as me, but there's no muscle at all. They're just a blob, okay? And they're the same height. Their BMI will be the same as mine. And they will also be told, you know what, you are so overweight. So it's not really a true reflection. And the reason I say this is I do this kind of thing with my class. And I've got some guys that like, geez, they got muscles in places where I don't even have places, okay? And they are like huge muscular. I'm talking about like the guys in the front row of the rugby team and everything. And their BMI says, you know what, you are grossly overweight, you're disgusting, you look terrible and all the rest. Meantime, they don't, okay? Their physique is absolutely phenomenal. But the BMI rating just kind of messes that up a bit. And I thought I'd put it out there because normally once I give this lesson, we find out that a lot of people hit absolute depression because they realize the BMI says they're overweight when they're actually not. They just got wonderfully toned muscular bodies, like me. Okay, so now let's have a look at this question. So the weight status category, the percentile range, says you're underweight if you're less than the 5th percentile. You're healthy weight if you're between the 5th percentile to less than the 85th percentile. You're at risk of being overweight if you're between the 85th percentile to less than the 95th percentile. And you're overweight if you're greater than the 95th percentile. Now, what do I mean by less than the 5th percentile? Well, percentiles is like percentages, right? Listen to the word, percentiles. Percentages. So if I'm in the 5th percentile, okay, it means, right, less than the 5th percentile, only 5% of the population has a mass less than mine. 95% of the population has a mass greater than mine. So I think if 95% of the population of the whole world, okay, or even of just South Africa, is heavier than you, chances are you could be underweight. If you're between the 5th and the 85th, you're a healthy weight. If you're between the 85th and the 90th, in other words, 85% of people are lighter than you are, and 15% are heavier than you. You're getting kind of heavy there. you're in danger here, okay? If you equal or greater than the 95th percentile, you're definitely overweight. In other words, 95% of the population weighs less than you. Oh my giddy aunt, that's quite scary, okay? You are kind of heavy. Only 5% of the population is heavier than you. Wait, when you start talking about populations of millions, then it's kind of scary because you realize that millions of people are lighter than you and only a few thousand or a few hundred are heavier than you. Scary. Okay, how do we read this though? So let's have a look at this. So we've got a thing at 2 to 20 years old. So we've got boys aged 2 to 20, okay? And we're going to have a look at their BMI. Right, so how do we calculate BMI? We take the mass and we divide it by the height squared, okay? And we'll look at that a bit later on. But here's my BMI scores, okay? And so here we go. At what percentile would an 8-year-old with a BMI of 17 be? So here's my ages. Here's my 8-year-old, and we're going to follow along this line of 8, okay? He's got a BMI of 17. Here's my BMI of 17. Let's run this line across here. I'm going to get a straight line, and hopefully this is going to work nicely. So I've got of 17, and I'm going to run a line all the way along here. I've got an age of 8, and I'm going to run a line all the way up this line. Now, where the two meet, and where do they meet? They meet on this funny curved line. Can you see that? It meets on a curved line. What is this line? Let's follow this line. All right? I'm going to try and get a yellow. Let's try. And I'm going to follow this line, and what is this line? Can we see the yellow? We can't see it great. Okay, let's try another color. Let's try purple. Why not? No, we're going pink. No, we got no pink. We're going purple. Right, so there's the line over here. We're following it, and it takes us all the way to my 75th percentile. Okay, let's go up a little bit. Takes me to my 75th percentile. In other words, a little 8-year-old who's got a BMI of 17 is on the 75th percentile, which means 75% of the population has got a BMI lower than him. 25% of the population has got a BMI heavier than him. So he's in the 75th percentile. If you remember from our graph, anything between 5th and 85th, and he's on the 75th, is a healthy weight. So we have a healthy little 8-year-old. We're going to do more of this after the break. Okay, and I think we're taking a break.
Yes, we are. So guys, you know the drill. Make sure you take a little break. I hope you have your snacks. If you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Because I know I've been drinking a lot of water, but I'm okay for now. Because I'm going to be here sticking around for this next session. So guys, make sure you stay tuned. See you soon. Welcome back, Mindset. This is grade 12 session. Guys, I hope you've been doing your work. You've been working on that challenge question. You guys have been really trying to crack it. And I know I'm already seeing a couple of answers, but I need to see more. So guys, keep hitting up the page, sending your answers, and always write how you got it. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Pete. Pete, take it away.
Right, great. And just before the advert, we were looking at something new that we've never done before. So far, we've looked at two new things. We've looked at things called quartiles and interquartile range. And now we're looking at percentiles. And this is straight from our grade 12 syllabus. Okay? So it's wonderful, new, fascinating stuff. Okay, let's have a look at another question with our quartiles. It says here, what is the BMI of a 5-year-old boy with his BMI, if his BMI places him on the 90th percentile? So what I want to do is I want to look for a 5-year-old. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to find a straight line, and I'm going to say, right, here's a 5-year-old over here. And we're going to draw a line all the way up my graph. Now, I want to know, where does this green line cut the 90th percentile? And that's what we're going to look at. So if I look at my percentiles here, I can see I've got 3 percentile, 10, 25, 50, 75, 85. Here's my 90. So let's follow that 90 and see where it cuts that line. So I'm going to use, let's go try blue today. So I'm going to use blue. Where is this blue line? We're following it, we're following it, we're following it, we're following it, and there it hits the green line. So where did it hit the green line? It hit the green line at that point. Now, what is that point over there? That point is round about a BMI of just over 17. So his BMI is 17 point, right about 17.2. Okay? So my percentile graphs, I could give you the body mass index, I could give you the weight, or the age, and tell you to find the percentile. I could give you the percentile and the age and tell you to find the BMI. I could give you the BMI and the percentile and tell you to find the age. So we're looking at a graph that's full of lines everywhere. And it's because all these lines are going all over the place that a lot of grade 12s battle with this whole concept of percentiles. Next week, I'm going to try and get you a percentile graph of age versus mass. In other words, we're going to look at the age of a tiny little baby, okay, and try and figure out at so many months he should be so many grams, and at so many months he should be so many kilograms, and at so many months he should be even more kilograms. So I'm going to try and get you a lovely percentile graph that shows the relationship between how old a baby is to how much he should weigh, or how old a little tiny little fetus is that's growing in the mother's stomach, and how tall that little kid should be in the mom's stomach. I think that's going to be a fantastic one to look at next week. All right? Something very similar to that came up in last year's matric paper. But back to our question, and we're looking at body mass index versus the age. All right. Right, next question. Again, same graph, and the question is, in what range can a 10-year-old boy's BMI be if his weight is considered to be healthy? Okay? So we know that for a boy to be healthy, remember, his BMI has got to be between the 5th and the 85th percentile, right? So the question is, within what range can a 10-year-old boy's BMI be? Well, we've got the answer straight away. It must be between the 5th and the 85th percentile. Okay, now, BMI is calculated using the formula mass in kilograms divided by the height in meters squared. What is the weight status of an 18-year-old boy who is 1,86 meters tall and weighs 90 kilograms? Okay, so this question is saying, all right, find his BMI. Even if I didn't know I had to find his BMI, the fact that the examiner has given me the formula tells me I'm going to have to need it. Remember what I've always said. No examiner wakes up at 2 in the morning and says, let's just think of some weird formula and throw it into this question. Okay? That should never be the case. And if it is the case, you have a horrible, 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 horrible teacher. Okay? But it should never happen in a matric exam, and it won't. Right? If they give you a formula, it's because you're going to have to use it. So here's a formula, and it's for the BMI. So let's first of all calculate what is his BMI. So his BMI, we know, is going to be his mass in kilograms. And how heavy is this boykie? He's 90 kilograms. Okay? And he's 1,86 meters tall. And we're going to have to square that. Now, once we've found that answer, we will be able to find his BMI. So, let's try and calculate that. Now, I've got one little problem, and my one problem is this, that on my calculator, I've got a whole lot of calculations that I'm going to need for the challenge question just now. So it really hurts me to have to get rid of it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to try and find another tiny little calculator up here somewhere, and there normally is one up here. In accessories, and he's got a calculator.
There it is.
Can you see it?
Above command prompt.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, cool. Now I've got a calculator. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, all right, I've got 1.86, and I'm going to square it. In other words, multiply it by 1.86 again, and I get an answer here. So, oops, here we go. I've got 90 kilograms, and I'm going to divide it. And what was that funny little answer? It was 3,4596. So 3,4596. Now I'm going to say, okay, so I've got 90 kilograms. I'm going to divide it by 3.4596, and I get an answer then of 26,01. So I know my BMI is 26,01. All right? That's the BMI. Now remember that this kid is 18 years old, and his BMI is 26,01. Let's go back to our graph now and try and find it. Okay, here we go. So, back to our graph. We got how old was our kid? Can you remember? 18. Right.
Yes.
So, he's 18 years old. So, we know we're going to deal with the line here, 18-year-old, somewhere along that line. And his BMI, we were told, is 20, or we calculated it to be 26 comma something. Oh, my giddy aunt, let's have a look at this. All right? His 26 is way off the graph. Okay? Totally gone off the graph. Now, does that mean he's horrendous? Well, I don't really think so. Because if you follow this line over here, you can see the 85 is following some line. 26 is probably over there, which means he could well be below the 85th percentile. And if he is below the 85th percentile, he's actually at a healthy weight. Okay, now that was a horrible question. The examiner who did this was very wrong, because they can't make you presume or you kind of estimate where that line should be going. So what the examiner should have done was should have got an answer of around about 23 or something, so that you could follow the line and actually find out or see it exactly on the graph. Got that? Okay, so let's move on now. Next question. Now, the BMI is calculated, okay, how heavy would a 16-year-old boy be if he is 1,65 meters tall and his BMI is at the 50th percentile? Again, folk, they now saying, right, we know he's at the 50th percentile, okay, we know that he's 16 years old, right. Now, his BMI at the 50th percentile, so let's find out. And we know this is going to be hard because it's 5 marks. Let's find out a 16-year-old's BMI if he's at the 50th percentile. So we're going back to find a graph, okay, and let's just do that quickly. 16 years old, 50th percentile. So a 16-year-old, and let's find another straight line. Here we go. 16-year-old over there. Oopsie, I don't know what I did there. Let's try again. 16-year-old. And it's got to cut the 50th percentile. There it is. So if it's cutting at this point over here, 50th, right over there, what is his actual BMI? His BMI at the 50th percentile is going to be round about 20.5 or 20,6. Okay, so his BMI is 20,6. Now, guys, this is tough, eh? This is hard stuff, right? But this is going to distinguish between whether you're going to get a 90 or an 89%. Okay, it takes a lot of practice, this section. So please don't panic. You just got to work through it. So we know, what did we say his BMI is going to be? It's going to be 20,6. So let's go back to our question, and we're going to say, right, we worked out that his BMI is 20,6. 2,6. And the BMI is equal to the mass divided by the height. Well, we know he's 1,65 meters tall. So I'm going to say 20,6 is equal to 1,65 squared divided by his mass. All right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, let's take out this funny little calculator again. We're going to say 1.65 multiplied by 1.65, and we get an answer of 2,7225. So 2,775. Was that it? Was it? Let's have a look. 2,7225. 2,7225. Here we go. Okay. Now, we're trying to calculate the mass. So currently now I have two things on my screen. I got 20,6 equals mass over 2,7225. We're trying to calculate the mass. How do we do that? We're going to multiply those two figures together. So I've got on my screen then my 2,7225, multiplying that by 20.6, and I'm going to land up with an answer of 56,08 kilograms. So this kid is 56,08 kilograms. These guys, this is hard. Okay? It's tough stuff, this. But you know what? You've got to know how to do it. Because you could get a question like that at the end of your matric year. So important to do. Okay. Yes, Ty, you seem to want to say something.
Yes. Literally, you actually just read my mind. I was about to say, challenge question.
Okay, let's answer this challenge question. Remember what it was? We gave you the population for the whole of South Africa. Or for all the 9 provinces, but we actually didn't give you the population for Limpopo. And we told you, though, that the mean population was 4,509,286. So let's do that quickly. We know that the mean, okay, is going to be my total over the number of provinces. Okay, now, I know what the mean is. It's 4,509,286. What is the total? Well, to find the total, I've got to add up all these figures here. The 2,633,504 plus the 7,300,000. And this is why I couldn't use this calculator before, because I've actually done it. So I've added up all the figures, except I haven't added up the last one. So let's do that. Plus 3956,875. Equals, and there's my total, hey? And it's quite a total to remember. So, Ty, maybe you can write this down. It's going to be 356.
Hold on,
Are you busy
let me
with
get
me?
something.
356. Well, my producer will probably be writing it down now, okay? 356 54205. 356 54205. Okay, so she's going to read it out to me in my ear as we talk. 356, only once I found a pen. 356 54205. And that's over the number of provinces. And how many provinces are there? Well, we should know that, hey, but let's count it anyway. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 provinces. Okay, so divide that by 9. But this is not just my total. Remember, that's the total only of 8 provinces. I've still got this missing province that I couldn't add, which was Limpopo. So my total is that amount plus Limpopo. So now, let's try and find out how we're going to find Limpopo. Let's get rid of that 9. How do we get rid of that 9? Well, I'm dividing by 9. When I go across, I'm going to multiply by 9. So what I've actually got here is a calculator. I think I've got a calculator. Yes, I do. So I've got my calculator, and I'm going to take this figure of 4,509,286, and I'm going to multiply it by 9, and I get an answer there of 405,835 574. I've got 30 seconds, so I can't finish it, but what I am going to say is, once we've got that answer, I'm going to subtract this answer of 35654,205, and that'll give me my answer for Limpopo. Okay? Time, all yours.
Okay, so guys, I hope that answers your question. So guys, make sure that you always come to the page, chat to us, talk to us, because the page is there for you. And guys, this is where I'm going to sign off and say, guys, see you next time. Bye.